Coming up, we'll show you the highlights of the City of Bryan's Holiday Magic event.
And we'll find out why some Bryan Middle School students were in a College Station classroom recently. I'm Sandy Ferris.
And I'm Alan Brugman. This is Bryan Living and Learning. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Today, the City of Bryan will show you about a biofuels program, and we'll also show you some PSAs that our department has been working on.
We'll take a look at some holiday events our students were involved in and some fifth graders who performed experiments and they presented their results at Texas A&M. And we'll hear about a Bryan Elementary School that partnered with Keep Brazos Beautiful. Before we get to those stories, though, we'll show you the highlights from the City of Bryan's annual Holiday Magic event in Sue Haswell Park. With chilly temperatures hovering in the 40s, it felt like it was cold enough to have actual snow on the ground for the 11th annual Holiday Magic event at Sue Haswell Park. But the snow that was trucked in for the snow sledding hill was good enough for attendees. Kids and adults were able to enjoy the snow hill and all the other festivities that covered the park. Children took photos with Santa, rode the Polar Express train, and enjoyed free cookies and hot chocolate. More than 100 door prizes were also given out, and attendees enjoyed live entertainment throughout the evening. Alan, it looked like everybody had a good time, and I think the cold weather really helped people get ready for the holidays. Yeah, and I don't think they had to worry about the Arctic-Hill snow melting at all with those cooler temperatures. We told you last time about the Bryan High Choir getting ready for Feast of Carols. Today we'll show you some of that performance.
Feast of Carols is a night of drama and carols and feasting.
That's how Bryan High Choir Director Alex Medlock described the Feast of Carols. And this year's event was no different. The annual event put on by the Bryan High Choir has become a tradition in Bryan College Station. Each year, 400 people fill the Commons area of Bryan High's Blue Campus. Attendees enjoy a large meal, as well as skits and a concert from the choir. Students, dressed in Renaissance attire and speaking with English accents, serve the meal and serenade the guests throughout the evening. This year marks the 26th year that the Feast of Carols has taken place at Bryan High, and for many local residents, the event has become the perfect way to kick off the holiday season.
Sandy, it looks like there was another great turnout for Feast of Carols. Did a lot of the shows sell out?
Several of them did. It was a full house as usual.
At the end of November, several Brazos Valley families celebrated in addition to their family on the Brazos Valley Adoption Day. November 20th was a memorable day for several families in Bryan and the surrounding area. It was Brazos Valley Adoption Day.
We're happy today to celebrate the adoption of 12 children into 6 very welcoming families and to be a part of the more than 20,000 children who are adopted nationwide on National Adoption Day.
In addition to those families, several other dignitaries were on hand for the ceremony. Bryan Councilmember Ann Horton was one of them.
I am really thrilled to be here today, and I'm so excited to be a part of your celebration. I can't think of anything that's more beautiful than seeing a family come together like this.
Texas State Senator Steve Ogden was also in attendance, and he has experience with his own adopted child, his middle school-aged son.
You do the very best you can. God will take care of the rest. Amen. God bless you. Congratulations. And I'm praying for you.
The folks at Voices for Children who organized the event wanted to remind everyone in attendance that there are currently around 129,000 kids who are waiting to be adopted across the country, including 807 kids here in Brazos County. We spoke with one of the new adoptive parents and asked her what she would tell someone who was thinking about adopting.
Just keep your heart open. It's a blessing to have her in our family.
If you're interested in learning more about adoption, you can contact Voices for Children at 822-9700.
We couldn't be more thrilled to celebrate.
Recently, several City of Bryan employees helped out the Boys and Girls Club by participating in a bowling tournament. A dozen City of Bryan employees, including folks from police, engineering, public works, code enforcement, and IT, teamed up with other people from around the area to participate in a bowling tournament to support the Boys and Girls Club of the Brazos Valley. The tournament was called the 2009 Celebrity Grand Challenge and was hosted by former Texas A&M football player Terrence Murphy at Grand Station Entertainment. The City of Bryan has a long history of support for the Boys and Girls Club, and many city employees and a couple of council members were members of the club when they were kids. So it was no surprise to see such a great turnout even on the day before Thanksgiving.
Alan, it's great to see the city involved in that worthy cause.
Yeah, I know those employees who got the opportunity to bowl were excited to do that during the working day.
Students from SFA's Odyssey Academy took their knowledge of space exploration to Pebble Creek Elementary for that campus's Space Day.
One day earlier in the semester, I got a call from the enrichment specialist at Pebble Creek, and she informed me that they wanted to spend a day, specifically November 20th, where they were going to focus on space. And she wanted hands-on activities for all the students at Pebble Creek. And I asked her how many students that was, and she said, well, there's 6 classes in each grade level, 20 kids, so we were talking about hundreds of students. But she wanted individual activities for all the grade levels, and as I was talking to her on the phone about how we might logistically do that, it seemed like really the only way to do it successfully was to have several teachers in the classrooms, and we came up with the idea of our Odyssey students actually going in, teaming up and teaching each of the classes.
If you were to put those size wings on a space shuttle, are we about 500 feet tall? Wow.
What I did do was looked at a lot of NASA's resources and a lot of resources available that I've collected over the years and found activities that were grade level appropriate. Then I took all the lessons and I gave our students the basic lesson plan, but then also a little bit of a guide, kind of starting them off as to what to say and how to use the materials. And they had several days where we used our special topics period where they got together in their groups and actually worked through the lesson. They made notes. Some of them even made PowerPoints. Every class in Pebble Creek does have a smartboard, and so they knew that was available. And on their own, several of our students made presentations and incorporated that into their lessons. And then I also made sure that they had the materials they needed, whether it's handouts or straws, balloons, all different kinds of materials. But then getting all that there, like I said, logistically it was challenging. We had to have everything bagged and boxed, made sure the right kid had the right materials, and but it worked. It went off without a hitch. We taught kids from Head Start, pre-K, all the way up to 4th grade. And we also had one class in which the students are bilingual, and so we had an opportunity to send a couple of our students that could speak Spanish in there to help out. So we were able to meet the needs of just about every different type of group that was at the school.
We were like building rockets and
Well, the younger grades were mainly basic identification of different spacecraft. They constructed their own little spacecraft using some very simple materials, things that the kids could easily go and replicate at home. All the way up to the 4th grade where they were doing some much more advanced ideas about action, reaction, Newton's laws of motion, how and why rockets actually move. And so they did some activities just experimenting with that as to how things actually move up in space and so on. Also during that whole thing I was going around with some with moon rocks that I had on loan from NASA and also sharing that with some of the classes.
So what they did was they put them in this material called lucite, and then...
yeah, that's what I thought. Heavier than I expected.
They did say, you know, hey, we'd love to do it next year. We wouldn't mind doing it again. Like I said, I think our kids really learn something. When you teach something, it kind of makes sure you make sure that you understand it yourself. So I think our kids definitely benefit from that. I didn't hear any of our students say that they were, you know, that was a bad experience, and our students actually did a very good job in instructing the younger kids, and the younger kids responded very well. Having had my kids go through Pebble Creek themselves, I knew a lot of the teachers there, and plus having worked there as well, and so I think I got some pretty honest feedback from them saying that they were very happy with the turnout. It's kind of hard as a teacher to just let someone else come into your class and just have at it, you know. And so The students in the classes apparently responded really well, participated in the activities. I think they were excited that our kids were there. They were doing something hands-on, doing something that somebody else was teaching them. So overall, I think it was a great experience for both us and for them.
Well, Sandy, it's neat to see those two school districts working together on an event like that.
It is, and I think there are probably many opportunities where we could do this sort of thing, so we'll be looking in the future for other ways.
Next, we'll be going back downstairs for our council update in the council chambers with our communications director, April Saganar.
At our most recent City Council meeting on November 24th, the City Council heard from Terry Childers of the Texas Transportation Institute. Mr. Childers was here to try to gauge the Council's interest on whether they want to support a regional transportation center. Typically a 15 to 20 year time frame for developing a regional public transportation system. Local research conducted by TTI is showing that current transit operators are undersized and not able to meet long-term community needs. It also found that the community needs a multimodal transportation system and that the needs of the entire region must be considered. The goals of the program are to provide public transportation options for everyone in the community, focus the program to promote green ridership, create a people mover system, and educate the community on needs, benefits, and costs. Some issues and challenges to developing the program include securing funding, lack of follow-through, lack of vision, commitment to private vehicles, and lack of connection with the broader region. City Council members said they support developing a public transportation program and would like to participate in a policy board to further explore the idea. As always, if you'd like to watch a City Council meeting in its entirety, you can log on to bryantx.gov.
Next, we'll take you to our Be Green in Bryan segment, which is about a new biofuels program started here at the City of Bryan. If one of the City of Bryan's 4 grapple trucks are in your area picking up debris and you smell vegetable oil, don't be alarmed. The fresh smell comes from biodiesel. A new program started with 4 of the city's trucks.
We decided that we should start a pilot project here at the compost facility because it's a smaller fleet. There's about 4 vehicles that we could select to use just the biodiesel. And we can document it and record and do all the maintenance specifically for those 4 vehicles.
The fuel is trucked in by Brenco, a biodiesel company, and the 4 grapple trucks can refuel at the compost facility after they dump off their loads. The decision to convert the 4 trucks to biodiesel was made with the environment in mind.
There's many benefits to biodiesel. One, it's a renewable energy source. It's a plant byproduct. It's basically, it's like vegetable oil that's blended with a diesel mixture. What we're using is the B20. B20 means it's 20% bio or vegetable oil, basically, mixed with diesel.
The biodiesel also emits far less carbon dioxide into the environment than its diesel counterpart. Grapple truck operators have noticed a difference with the new fuel as well.
So far, I think it runs about the same, but for its burning fuel, I think it's burning a little better fuel, and it got a better smell to it. You don't have that diesel smell, so to me, it's better for the environment.
And it doesn't cost the city anymore either. Biodiesel's cost fluctuates, but it stays a few cents below or above the cost of regular diesel. And it's already helping to clean out the truck engines.
Equipment that's used regular diesel for years and years and years has a lot of buildup of basically engine gunk and grit and stuff like that. And the biodiesel actually acts as a solvent, and it lubricates the engine components and releases all that debris into the filter. So you get a lot of filter clogging and a lot of basically gunk built up in your engine that's now being released into the filter. So we've been constantly changing filters and doing maintenance on these 4 pilot vehicles to ensure that they're running at optimal performance. So we don't want to lose any downtime on our regular operations.
The plan for the biodiesel program is to gather all the information that's available from using it in the first 4 trucks and then to spread the program to more city vehicles.
After this pilot project, we're going to look at the data, look at performance, see how the equipment ran, and then possibly expand into a department and work our way that way slowly. Just doing the right thing, not overdoing it. making sure that we have everything in place as far as data and performance, and we don't want to overexpand ourselves.
Well, Alan, it's interesting to see all the different ways the city has found to be green.
Yeah, and it's nice that those programs are leading not only here in the state, but also nationally.
Well, on to a different type of green. Keep Brazos Beautiful recently partnered with Sam Houston Elementary to plant a tree on that campus.
It seems like everyone is going green these days, and the students at Bryan's Sam Houston Elementary are no exception. Approximately 30 students there started a recycling club in partnership with the local Keep Brazos Beautiful organization. The recycling club assisted Keep Brazos Beautiful with its 8th annual crepe myrtle and shade tree sale, and one of the trees from that sale was planted in a ceremony held in front of the school.
Trees give us more oxygen on our planet, and today we are going to plant more trees on our campus.
Teachers and students, as well as administrators and guests, turned out for the ceremony. After school, 6 other donated trees were planted around the school by the Recycling Club and Aggie Replant.
Well, Sandy, I guess it's never too early to expose environmental issues to the younger kids.
That's right, and Sam Houston's Recycling Club will be looking for other ways to make a difference on that campus.
Now we want to give you the opportunity to check out some PSAs that our department has been working on. The first one is how to protect your pipes from fats, oils, and grease.
Hey guys.
Hey Dad.
What's up? Thought we'd have a little chat. You guys have reached an age where you're going to start experimenting, you're mature, but I think it's time that we have a serious discussion about actions and consequences of those actions. Don't ever pour grease down the drain. When you do that, it can clog our lines, it can raise our sewer rates, and it can impact everybody in the neighborhood.
Got it, Dad. We won't pour fats, oils, and greases down the drain.
And here, always use this to scrape grease off into the garbage can.
The second PSA is a timely spot, hopefully reminding residents to remove all their valuables or lock them up when they leave their home for vacation. With the holidays approaching, thefts and burglaries go up 30% across the nation. The Bryan Police Department's neighborhood enforcement team would like to remind you that when you're leaving for the holidays, double check that your windows and doors are locked. Take or hide expensive items like video games, TVs, DVDs, laptops, and electronics. Have a neighbor or friend check on your home or apartment from time to time. And if you see people or vehicles loitering, contact the Bryan Police Department. Remember, protect yourself, remove valuables, and lock your doors. Don't be a victim.
The Bryan School District is always very involved with KBTX's Food for Families food drive. Recently, our Hammond Oliver students helped the food bank get ready for that event.
Every year, Hammond Oliver students participate in what they call a Day of Caring. On the day before the Thanksgiving break, students divide up and spend part of the school day serving local community organizations. One place the students served this year was the Brazos Valley Food Bank.
Today we have the Hammond Oliver School coming out here, and they're basically helping us prepare for our Food for Families food drive. We have one group doing senior outreach program bags, which is basically our bags that we provide to senior citizens in the 6 counties that we cater to. And we also have a group inside the sorting room basically sorting out non-perishable foods. That way we can have some space available and we can actually push the product out to our agencies so we can get ready for the food drive coming up on December 9th. We had 2 groups this morning as well from the same Hammond Oliver School, and basically they were doing the same exact things that these kids are doing this afternoon.
Students from Hammond Oliver volunteered in a number of businesses and organizations around the area, including several local nursing homes and Scotty's House. The students who served at the Brazos Food Bank were helping them to get ready to receive the food that will be collected at the annual KBTX Food for Families food drive. This drive helps provide the food bank with the resources it needs to support needy families in the Brazos Valley.
Last year we moved about 2.5 million pounds of food, which is well going to be exceeded this year because of the higher demand and need this year. Obviously we're in a recession, and there's a lot of people that are actually coming in. Mostly we're seeing an increase. Every month we have people coming in that are seeking food assistance, and basically our number's going to go well over 2.5 million this year.
Sandy, it looks like that was a long, hard day of work put in by those students. Did they spend their entire day there at the food bank?
Actually, we had 2 groups who worked at the food bank, but in addition to that, they went to area nursing homes, the Children's Museum, and some other places where they could be of service.
Now we'll give you a look at some winning video entries from a contest held by BTU. 3 Bryan area high schoolers recently won a little extra spending money during a contest sponsored by BTU. We caught up with them when they received their checks at BTU headquarters. The contest was started by Texas Co-op Power magazine and called for high school students who live in a household served by an electric co-op in Texas to create an original short video about saving electricity. And these students were the winners from the areas served by BTU. Kevin Ikele and Adam Roberts worked together on their video.
We ended up doing a sort of energy zombie film that actually turned out pretty well.
Yeah, we shot it in the breezeway at our school. It was probably the fastest film ever created. Yeah, it was pretty last minute because we had already had all this footage for our previous film, and so we threw it together and it turned out to be pretty good.
David Jones was the other winner.
There's a lot of movies saying, turn off your lights to save the environment. There's a lot of those out there, so it's like I wanted to do something a little bit different by saying, look, these are some ways to go green, to save money, and that's where my whole story sort of evolved into.
Each of the BTU winners was one of the 6 state runners-up. The revitalization of downtown Bryan took its next step, focusing on the north part with the destruction of the old Twin City Mission. Downtown North took the next step to becoming a reality with the demolition of the old Twin City Mission homeless shelter building. The Mission opened their brand new shelter west of downtown this summer, allowing them to sell the old dilapidated structure to the city. That building and several other buildings that were acquired by the city were demolished to make room for downtown North development. In addition to preparing for the future, tearing down those buildings will also help the area look better.
Some of the properties in downtown were not up to code, on the borderline of being dangerous, and what we wanted to do as property owners is remove that potential for harboring folks that shouldn't be there. Just remove that temptation or blight from downtown and create a green space or an area that's not developed so that when folks travel through downtown, they don't see old dilapidated buildings. They feel much safer, and our downtown looks better.
Alan, it's really exciting to see how the north end of Bryan is undergoing some revitalization now.
Yeah, we're excited to see what that downtown north area is going to look like. And we'll do a story here on Bryan Limited Learning when some of those plans and some of those buildings start coming together.
Some Bryan 5th graders spent the last several weeks studying a major problem facing farmers. They presented their findings to a group at Texas A&M.
Students from 6 of Bryan's elementary schools have spent the last 6 weeks studying the corn earworm. Their research is part of the Future Scientist program through the USDA research labs at Texas A&M. Led by Dr. Craig Wilson, the program is designed to get 5th graders interested in science.
Well, it started in 1994 and has morphed through various stages, but the goal is to open up the USDA ARS research labs as an educational resource. There's 100 nationwide, there's 8 in Texas, and there's this very big one here right in Bryan College Station. And so, how do we do that? Well, we bring the teachers into the research lab and we teach them about the corn earworm insect, and then we get them to have those insects in the classroom with their students, take them through the life cycle, because it's about 42 days, so it fits in the term quite nicely, and then get the children involved in research. I mean, that's why the project is here at this research facility. Dr. Juan Lopez is an expert on the corn earworm, and they're looking at ways to reduce the damage they cause to corn, which is about $1 billion a year in America. I presented to all of the Bryan schools, and 6 chose to come and present their research finding to the scientists today. And so, for example, we had one project today where the students were feeding them different colored foods to see if that affected the growth of the worms in any way. And we found out that the blue coloring was most effective in getting into the worms, which I didn't know. And we don't know why, but maybe that's a future project. So that's always exciting, new ideas. So we're incorporating the kids to help with the research and get them excited about science. Not reading from a book. They have the worms, they grow them through the life cycle, and they study them, make measurements, observations, which is the most important thing, and then ask questions. You can't do science if you don't observe properly using all of your senses, and you can't do it if you don't ask questions. And so these kids are asking good questions and sharing with us what they've done.
After presenting their findings to the scientists, students had the opportunity to take tours of the facility and get some hands-on experience with some of the research going on there.
So we have one with Dr. Todd Galloway, which is, it's a fistulated cow, where we have a a hole in the side of the cow, and the students can put their hand and sample some of the fluids inside the cow's stomach. And then Dr. Stevanovic will take them through some cotton research, show them some cotton plants, because that's a big focus of the lab here, the research. Dr. Christy Swaggerty is going to show them about food and feed safety in poultry. And then Dr. Gretchen Jones is a world expert on pollen. She's a paleontologist. And so the students will get to see electron micrographs of pollen cells, which are magnified 2,500 times.
Actually a wing, and there's another wing underneath there.
Dr. Juan Lopez will show them his insect laboratory and some of the impact of the worms on the corn.
See how they eat the corn? Okay. And we actually...
Well, you know, it's having an impact. We've got more students here this year than ever, and more parental interest. We always invite the parents to come along if they can get off work, because that's a very important part of education, parental interest and support. And the teachers. A lot of the teachers have been doing this for a few years and become more confident. And gradually, as we get these presentations, I can share those with other teachers so they have more examples to follow and feel comfortable doing it themselves, which is one of the goals also. But it's fun. The project is going nationwide. I'm just back from setting up a project in the Miami lab, which I'll work with the Miami-Dade School District. We'll have 20 teachers come into that research lab next June, and then we shall bring 20 teachers into the research lab in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. So we're expanding nationwide, but it all started at this research center, and this is where the worms are cultured and shipped out. We shipped 17,000 worms last year to 12 different states to be used by 8,500 different students. And each year it's increased. So hopefully it'll keep growing.
Well, Sandy, if doing some research like that doesn't get kids interested in science, I don't know if anything will.
That's right, and we're always grateful to A&M for allowing us to participate in that project every year.
The City of Bryan and Texas A&M Athletics continue their year-long partnership with the city sponsoring a women's basketball game. The matchup on December 2nd between the Texas A&M Lady Aggies and the Lady Jacks of Stephen F. Austin in women's basketball was a special event for the City of Bryan. It was the second year in a row that the city sponsored a women's basketball game. Before the game, Communications Director April Saganor passed out free T-shirts to fans entering Reed Arena, and Bryan Mayor Mark Conley chatted with A&M coach Gary Blair courtside. After the players warmed up, Mayor Conley was presented with a game ball at center court. And for the second year in a row, the Lady Aggies won the Bryan-sponsored game, this time overpowering SFA by 50 points. The final score was 106-56.
Well, Alan, we've seen some other stories where the city sponsored athletic events. Will there be others?
Yeah, the next two on the schedule, it's a men's baseball game and a women's softball game. Not sure which one comes up first on the schedule, but we'll let you know here on Bryan Living and Learning.
That's all the time we have today. Thank you for watching Bryan Living and Learning.